So today we're going to look at how it went whenever you implemented the effective questions and the Microsoft Teams tool. But before we get started with that, and given the time that we have today, what is the most important thing you want to talk about today? What's on your mind?
It
doesn't have to be about this. You can.
Well, just continuing these digital learning days, the communication factor continues to be the hardest part. So every time that I can get any kind of input on how to communicate with them better, how to encourage them to come to team meetings, that's not been going really great. I mean, once we're on there, a lot of times they're expecting me to talk the whole time.
Okay.
So it's kind of still the same thing, but in a new version, presence and fully present, if that makes sense.
So. Yeah, the engagement part is still in there. Okay.
It's still in there. It's the ones that come, they do want to talk some, but not about school stuff. Like They don't want to necessarily ask questions. They do that later in private and not in the team meeting, which kind of speaks to the classroom setting. They may want to talk and have questions and commentary, but there's still this sense of or a lack of confidence in bringing it up and saying it then,
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll keep working on that, and we'll.
Good.
With that, I think this is just so new to many, to all of us that the habits that we had formed in the classroom, are not going to break overnight by any means, and I think it's trying for all of us at this time. So, all right. So, looking at that session you had last week or a couple weeks ago now, I guess. What do you think went well with it? As far as using the questioning or using Teams as a tool itself. And I pulled the checklist back up. So can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that way, if you want to pull from those, you can.
Okay. Let's see. Well, that was our first time on Teams. And so there was a little bit of that beginning, it's thundering. That beginning, trying out the tool and the practice of the tool and learning how for people to even get in, because some tried to come in a different way than through the assignment that I gave them. You know how that is. But so I did, I asked questions of all the students, and I felt like that I did my part of trying to. I had a form that I was following, and I was trying to I encouraged them to have the form too. I had already provided that to them earlier to kind of guide our questions and our discussion about these videos that they were to watch before coming to the Teams meeting. And most of them did not watch the videos. And so they didn't totally know what we were talking about. But the ones that did watch the video, they used that tool to help them answer the questions. Okay. So that felt good, like they were prepared in advance for a discussion. And so the ones that were prepared, that did use the form and did watch the videos, they spoke up, which was awesome. That felt good. I have some people that did some stuff.
Right. So. Were your questions, did you use the open-ended, the opinion questions, the big idea kind of questions for them?
There were some, let me look at the questions. I can't use my glasses. Let's see. It was, there were some open-ended questions and opinion questions. The big idea questions were a little bit trickier for them because they were still trying to get their brain around that. I felt like every big idea question, I had to come back down to yes or no's, because they couldn't really seem to get it to the big idea. And I don't know, maybe I shouldn't go to a yes or no question if there's a way that I could learn to jump back from a big idea to an open-ended question,
I think it's
probably
okay.
the best thing. But
Sure.
it seems like I had to really, that would be something I would need to work on, is that they couldn't get their brain around the whole concept of what we were doing with this task 3 of this unit. And so this was like kind of the launch off of it. And if I had done a little bit of pre-work on where we were headed a little bit better, like scaffolded it up a little bit better, then they would have been able to do those big idea questions, but those weren't as successful.
Sure. And I mean, it sounds like you learned that, your kids, and I'm sure you already know it, but like in this environment, like you're going to have to scaffold it up. And so, had we been using effective questioning, all along, or, those kind of, like in that format, then of course they would be better at it. But, this is the first time we tried it, and this is the first time that they've tried it. And so I think, realizing and, learning from that, okay, moving forward, like I may need to scaffold and build towards the big idea rather than jumping into the big idea first and then having to go backwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does make sense. It does.
What did anything surprise you about using that type of question or using Microsoft Teams for your discussion? Was there anything?
Well, I'm so bad with silence. So it's hard, especially in Teams. Like that's a problem. Like when they all, they kind of all have to turn off their cameras unless they're going to speak. Their audio and their cameras because of the connection problems or whatever. And so I couldn't see their faces, and I could only see 4 people at a time. So I couldn't see faces to see, are they thinking? Or like that part's so hard to know in the silence what's happening.
Yeah, that would definitely be a roadblock.
Yeah, it was a roadblock, but it also at the same time, it speaks to what's happening in the classroom too. Like, I don't think it was actually different than a sticks and bricks classroom. Like they were probably still waiting for the answer from me, but I didn't want to, cut off someone or like you wanted to see the face to go, oh, they look like they're almost there. I'll stay quiet a couple more seconds, that part's kind of hard.
Don't be hard on yourself about that, because that, way of learning has been built in them from somewhere. It's not that this year they're like, hey, she'll just tell me the answers. It's something they're used to. So please don't beat yourself up about that one.
That's great. That's kind of you. And I'm not beating myself up. It's just one of those things, that's just the thing of teacher being always taught, I'm always learning.
So looking at the strategy we used of effective questionings, is that something that you would want to keep using moving forward, or do you want to revisit it? Or
well, I mean, when you ask moving forward, do you mean like in my teaching strategies, or do you mean in our discussion?
If we weren't ending school in 2 weeks, would this be something you would keep going with?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because that it is the thing that I will continue to work on, is trying to get better at formulating my questions in advance so that they're more specific to their thinking and their expression of what they have learned, rather than like, I feel like it may throw my lesson plans off a little bit, because we may end up going on some rabbit trails, but at the same time, that's how they're going to learn it. So, I definitely, I'll be moving forward with this.
So I know we shifted a little away from those teaching learning maps just because of necessity. But our purpose of those was also to keep kids engaged, and that was our goal, was that we wanted to increase that engagement. Is that what would you keep going with that goal, or do you want to modify that goal? Or
well, of course, I'm seeing the need for engagement here in the digital world just as much as in the classroom. So I would like to keep going with that, but I don't know exactly how to do that.
Right. And I'm really thinking of this, like when we get back to whatever normal looks like after this, is that, because in theory, if this wasn't all happening, we would still have another 2 weeks of school,
right,
where we're ending.
Right.
And so what do you think, if we were going to meet again, what steps or what kind of task could we do to help make that better for your students and their engagement?
Let me think. Well, next year I'm going to be teaching some other age group, age group that I haven't done before. And so maybe is there something that could help bridge me from here to there in terms of the difference in expectation of people, maybe. I don't know. Is that a good thing to mention? And therefore, that will trickle down to the communication and the way that I'll be able to engage them.
Okay. Looking at the questioning, and I know we got to wrap up here, but do you think if like one of our tasks were to kind of create these broad questions that could apply to different situations, that
would be awesome.
We could just modify, based on whatever the particular lesson is, but at least, we want them thinking about this, so we could ask a question like this. And so like that way you'd have a starting point to jump and kind of like a bank to build in there.
That sounds awesome, especially with having 9th grade and 11th grade.
Okay.
If I had a bank, I could use that basic question to go down or go up, depending upon level of thought. So that would be awesome.
So my final question for you is on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the most committed ever, how committed are you to this goal?
I'm a 5.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.